Most people think selling a home comes down to square footage, upgrades, or price. But what if the biggest thing stopping from selling is the way people feel when they walk through the front door? Today's guest has built an entire business around transforming lived-in homes into spaces buyers emotionally connect with, without bringing truckloads of furniture or forcing families to move out before they sell. After spending 30 years in New York City as an apparel buyer and fashion consultant, Shirley took her expertise in style, editing, presentation, and human psychology and applied it to something completely different: occupied home staging. And what makes that so unique is that staging a vacant home isn't staging a home that people are actively living in, are two completely different skill sets. Because when you walk into an occupied home, you're not just dealing with furniture. You're dealing with memories. You're dealing with emotions, identity, stress, kids, pets, and life. And Shirley has become known for helping homeowners navigate all of it with what she calls tough love with heart. She has helped homes go from sitting on the market to pending in just days. She's helped realtors completely rethink the way that they prepare their listings. She is moving every single day, and you don't need a perfectly empty luxury home to make a powerful first impression. Today, we're talking about the psychology behind selling a home, the emotional side of letting go, the mistakes homeowners make before listing, and how small changes inside a space can completely change the way buyers experience it. This is a conversation about design, strategy, emotion, and the power of creating spaces that not only sell better, but make it feel better to live along the way. So let's get into it. This is Behind the Brand. Hi, Shirley. How are you doing?
Hi, Matt. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. How are things going?
Good. And big shout out to you for meeting at Orange Blossom.
Yes, I do want to say thank you so much to Melissa Lilly for hosting us. We're here at the Orange Blossom Cafe. Actually, I believe it's your first time here, right? Or
It is not. It is not.
You've been here with Discover Bradenton a lot,
I have,
right?
yes.
Okay, awesome. But yes, Melissa was nice enough to host us, so we wanted to just give a quick shout out to her, say thank you so much, for the hospitality, the coffee, of course. My daughter Kaylin actually decided to join us and learn a little bit about the behind the scenes of videography and podcasting. So, they were nice enough to give her a free blueberry muffin. So, we'll be sure to, have them jump on when we're done or here in the beginning and say a little thank you for it.
But thank you for highlighting small businesses here in Bradenton. It helps build better communities, I think.
Absolutely.
Brand awareness for all the local businesses that can use support. So.
Absolutely. And that's why this podcast exists. For those who don't know, I started this podcast a couple months ago. The idea is to help small business owners, raise their awareness, get their growth out there. The idea is to share, content pieces along the way to really inspire, people to connect with these small business owners, because I truly do believe that, small businesses are the backbone of society.
I agree.
Awesome. Well, let's get into it. So as I mentioned, Shirley did spend almost 30 years in, fashion. With that being said, how did that shape the way you see and how you stage a home?
Well, first of all, working in the fashion industry for all those years was the most fun I've ever had in a job. Who wouldn't want to be looking at clothes, shopping with other people's money, and living in New York City? So I loved that job. It was almost as fun as when I worked at a Six Flags on the first wooden roller coaster called Rolling Thunder, which was also a lot of fun. That was in college, but it brought me to fashion once I graduated. And I was living in South Jersey. I started working for a department store. And I started as a salesperson and quickly moved up, became a junior sportswear buyer. I started traveling to New York from South Jersey, and I ended up getting a job in New York. That job, I was a junior sportswear buyer, but I was also a consultant where retailers from around the country would come and look for our expertise in guiding them on what to buy for their stores. So I worked with a lot of designers. We did fashion predictions, trends. I worked a lot with color and design. And that, I think, was a really good transition into what I'm creating now, as far as the home staging market.
Really cool. So when I think of fashion, of course, the first thing that comes to mind is, of course, like Devil Wears Prada, a little bit of, some of our viewers might know this movie. Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead. I don't know, with Christina Applegate, how she became how she became a fashion consultant for one of the biggest firms in the city. And I don't know. I mean, I look at what you guys do or what you did there, in your point of your life. And I think, man, like that must have been a lot of long hours, a lot of, time spent, what would you say your favorite memory from that was?
Well, I think I had a lot of clients from all over the country. And I think one of my favorite memories was, they would come into New York and I would take them around to the local showrooms. And I had one client that was just so thrilled with how their business changed since joining our buying group, and that the advice that they were giving, they went into different things that they never thought that they could sell, and they did, and their business increased. And for me, that's just such a great memory, aside from all the memories of all the fun. Yeah.
No, I mean, it definitely sounds like, working in those spaces. I actually have a friend, back home in Boston who, he actually turns sports jerseys into like more so keepsakes. He does actually the stitching on them. And I think that, the fashion industry, I don't know much about it, but that's also why we're sitting down today, is to kind of get that insight. So your insight is really cool to kind of hear those stories and those memories.
Well, I'm also seeing a lot of fashion going towards more eco-friendly and, reusing things. So I think that's cool. It's a new challenge for them. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Really cool. So how do you get your clients to trust your vision, especially when it means like changing their space? I mean, a lot of times I feel like if you go into somebody's home, they're so particular about the way their house looks. How do you kind of change their mind and change, I can get this ready for you, or I can, if we make one subtle change, that can impact the sale of the house.
Yeah. Well, it does involve a lot of tough love, I have to say. I have myself experienced moving from a home with a full life with kids and a lot of stuff. And I know how emotionally attached people become to their things. And it was a situation where I was moving to a smaller space, so I definitely needed to downsize. And you learn a lot about, I don't like to say decluttering, I like to say editing, because decluttering sounds like you think of people's stuff as junk, and that's not what it is. It's their things. It's their treasures. But getting people to part with some of those treasures, or getting them to understand the why behind why we need to start pre-packing them. I go in and I serve with kindness and compassion, with understanding, knowing that moving is a difficult, emotional thing. You never know what kind of a situation you're walking into.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember when my parents were in the process of moving down here, one of the biggest things that, they had to part with was some furniture, some keepsakes, and it's tough because, you feel like you just went through the burden, if you want to call it that, of packing everything up, getting everything ready to sell. And you're like, wait a minute. What about this? What about that? And I personally remember moving down here to Florida, and I had a bunch of like Bruins posters that I had, and I actually had the original ticket stubs too, which obviously now in today's world, we do everything on our phone to just tap and get into the arena. But I had maybe 10 posters that I had to part with, and I was not happy about it. I was very upset.
It is. It's very emotional. And I have a recent listing that just went pending, and I was called in because the house was sitting on the market, and not getting any attention. So the realtors asked me to come in and, as they call it, work my magic. And, I went in, and there was one particular room where the homeowner really was very, very attached to a desk area he created with a beautiful piece of wood. Mm-hmm. And there were file cabinets underneath, but it was in the middle of the living room, and their big living room furniture was in a small family room. So we removed some of the furniture, but the furniture was still big and I can only suggest, and he didn't want to remove the desk. So about a month later, I said, I really think that this is going to make the difference. And because it was there, and the feedback they were getting was that the family room appeared very small. So I spoke to the homeowner and he finally agreed, and we went and made the changes, and the house went pending.
Awesome.
So, the things that I do are for the seller's benefit. It's not to be judgmental. It's because I go in with a buyer's eye or a design eye, what's going to work the best to appeal to the most people.
Absolutely. And being here in Florida, I feel like it's so, so tricky these days to get a home to sell. I mean, the pandemic definitely raised that up, but being able to come in there and make that subtle change, I'm glad the seller was happy, I'm sure.
Yes.
So walk us through kind of what the process looks like walking into a home. Like, do you go in with a notebook and write down little notes? Like, what exactly is your process look like?
So when I go in to do a consultation, that consultation starts as soon as I pull up to the house.
Oh, wow.
We're going to go by curb appeal, which is the first thing. A buyer's going to decide if they want to go in or not based on their first impression. And the thing is, you have about 7 seconds to catch somebody's eye. So that first when you walk in the door also. So I think the process for me is making sure that the home is the most appealing it can be. Sometimes you just need to add a little color to the front. Sometimes the front is amazing. Every situation is different. But the biggest thing for me is when I open that front door, most of the homes here, or many of the homes that I do, have pool areas. And we want that straight vision out to the pool because that's what draws people in. People come here for a lifestyle. They want that indoor-outdoor living. And I think we need to make sure that that's the first thing that they're drawn to, the focal point.
Absolutely.
I do walk around with the homeowners and give them suggestions.
Good. Yeah, it sounds like you kind of hold their hand a little bit, which I feel like is needed in your profession. And I think that, Dusty and I actually on episode 2, we talked about, how do I make a home have more appeal and have more style? How does it fit with my lifestyle and things like that? So, just want to give her a quick shout out and say, to Dusty, thank you, of course. And
she's wonderful.
Yes. If you guys haven't watched episode 2, I sat down with Dusty Everett, who's a realtor, with Keller Williams on the Water. So if you don't mind checking that out, that'd be awesome.
Well, I think also that, Matt, the thing is that everybody, should live in their home the way they want to, right? It's our home, but how we sell or how we live is not how we sell.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing during a consultation is we want to get the sellers to appeal to the broadest group of people. That's why realtors hire me to come in and do a consultation with their sellers so that, first of all, they don't have to say the tough stuff because sometimes there's pets and things involved that are tough to talk about. But that's where I come in and do that for them.
That's awesome. No, it sounds like you have a more friendly approach. I've never obviously sold a home or bought a home yet, but it is on the horizon. So, when I'm ready to look at a home, I'll definitely be giving you a call to kind of see, hey, can you help me decorate?
Yes, because I do that too. I do
even
design,
better.
so yeah.
Awesome. So, what made you switch your focus on exclusively doing occupied versus occupied and
Vacant home?
Mm-hmm.
So I love this question. It's definitely why I created my lived-in listing method. I love working with homeowners who are living in their homes, selling, as many of them are. A lot of people live in their homes. They, while they're selling, and they need help preparing their homes. Not everybody has the disposable income to move everything out and have a vacant home stager, bring things in. And for me, it's a little bit more challenging to work with what's already existing in the home. Sometimes it's a red and blue plaid couch, older furniture that I'm working with, but how am I going to make that more appealing? And I think that comes from my fashion background. It's, making things, merchandising things. So I go in with that eye. But it really, when sometimes a homeowner will come back and they'll be like, oh, I'm not so sure I want to move now, because it looks a lot different. So I think for me, that's the biggest, I feel like it's really, I'm providing a service. Vacant home stager, it's a different skill set. Vacant home stagers go in and they make an empty home look beautiful. They make all the design choices. And not everybody has that skill set, but this skill set, working with people living in their home, is just more challenging. And that's the part that I like about it, because I think it really makes a difference for them.
Absolutely. I mean, it's funny you mentioned, moving on an old couch that may not work or, something like that. It's funny you say that because I remember when my parents were looking to move to Florida, they had this, and Mom, if you're watching, I'm sorry, but they had this hideous sleeper sofa and couch set. And I was just like, why? Like, if you're wondering why your house isn't selling, I feel like it's that, because it was very 80s, very early 90s look, like very floral. I mean, it was comfortable to sleep on, don't get me wrong, but I just think over time, it lacked its luster. So
well, people become very blind to even the things when they were looking at the home that might have stuck out to them. They become very blind to those things after living in the home.
Okay. Well, with that being said, we're talking so much about, of course, homes being on the market. What do you think is silently killing their home value? I feel like a lot of homes right now I've seen that, they're on the market for over 100 days. And it's like, is there one thing that's killing it, or is it a bunch of things, you think?
Well, I think it's more than one. And I think the biggest thing is, right now, I think buyers are very price conscious. A home that's priced right, I think, but that's the realtor's responsibility. For me, if I'm walking into a home, the thing that's silently killing home's value is having too much stuff in all the wrong places. And I don't mean it in a messy sort of way, but in a we live here sort of way. Life happens. We all have stuff everywhere. I know by the end of the week, my house is, Friday, it's like, okay, Saturday.
Oh, believe me,
definitely
having two kids that one, of course, as we know, a 3-year-old and then a 12-year-old. It's one of those things where, I'm very appreciative to have the 12-year-old to be able to help. But at the same time, having the 3-year-old and now teaching him how to clean the house is probably going to be the biggest challenge.
Well, yeah. And, people kind of don't realize that they have so much stuff when they're living in it. And it can give buyers or potential buyers, the illusion of maybe there's some deferred maintenance or things that are going to need to be done kind of thing. So I think and that's why we always kind of talk about the pre-packing process, because if you're moving, you're going to have to pack anyway. So let's pack those things that could hinder somebody's impression of the home.
Absolutely. I'm trying to think if there's anything in my parents' home that might have did that, aside from the couch, of course. With that being said, what do you think the biggest mistake is when they're trying to sell the home that they still live in?
That they're still living in it the way they were living in it. You can't sell a home the way you live in it. And it's a mindset. And if they don't shift that mindset, they could be leaving money on the table. Their job has to have two functions at that point. It still has to work for them, but it has to work for buyers potentially coming in to view the home. So they have to make that emotional shift from this is my home to now this is a product that we want to sell. And that's a little tricky.
It sounds like it. I mean, like I said, I've never owned a home. I have a desire, of course, eventually to get a home.
But even if you're renting a home, right? You want your home to feel like a home. So that's I guess the thing, you get emotional, it's your home, it's your safe space. So it should be how you want. But again, if you're going to list it, you have to make that mind shift.
Very true. Very true. Well, Shirley, we're going to take a quick break. Okay. We'll be right back on Behind the Brand. Welcome back to Behind the Brand. I'm Matthew. I'm here with Shirley O'Brien of Suncoast Spaces. How are you, Shirley?
I'm good.
Good.
Still good.
Yes, good. Well, we're here in the beautiful Orange Blossom Cafe. Melissa Lilly was nice enough to host us. My daughter loves this place now. She might even get a job here when she's old enough. But, you know, the hospitality here has been fantastic.
They are. They're wonderful here. And thank you so much for helping. So nice to see you.
Yes. So we talked a little bit in the first half about how Shirley started in design, you know, trying to figure out what makes the, I guess, appeal, what raises the appeal of being able to sell a home. I think that at the end of the day, you know, we talked about removing some things, adding some things. What do you think, you know, is the hardest part about moving something important out of a home?
Well, I tell a seller that I'm not taking away something because it's never judgmental, right? It's never, I don't like a piece because it's not about me. It's about making their home appeal to a bigger spectrum of people. Some people don't think about some of the things that might hinder, you know, somebody's perception of the home. And that's what I try and stop with occupied staging.
Gotcha. Well, as we mentioned, you know, you come from more of a design and fashion background. What do you think the hardest part was about leaving that and starting this new journey?
Because I hate change. Like, I very much hate change. I mean, I know a lot of people do. And I did it like in the second half of life. So it was a huge change. I moved from, you know, right outside of New York City here to Florida. And it's beautiful and I'm thankful to be here. But, you know, any kind of change is hard and I really loved what I did, but it also enabled me to, you know, becoming an interior designer was like my choice as a kid. That's what I always wanted to do, but I ended up in fashion. So although I am not an interior designer, home staging for me was a fabulous transition into doing something that I really love. So
really cool. I mean, I personally grew up playing The Sims a lot, The Sims video games, and I feel like that side of me or that design side of me is always going to be there.
That creative edge.
Exactly.
Right?
And I feel like this city of Bradenton is actually so great for creators and designers and even people like you, because I've never been around a group of people or a group of individuals at, say, Let's Connect, Discover Bradenton, where I kind of feel at home. Whereas up north, we don't really have those networking groups.
No, networking is very different down here, but also, you know, very often I'm inspired by like the beauty that's around us. I mean, our beaches, our waters, our preserves.
We have everything.
It's beautiful here and it's really inspiring. So who wouldn't want to be?
Right. So move to Florida. With that being said, you know, it sounds like you still have that motivation, of course, but what kind of keeps you going right now?
I think I really, really, really enjoy what I'm doing, but I also really think that what I do is really changing people's lives. And I know that sounds really corny, but you never know what kind of a situation you're walking into. Somebody could be suffering from a loss, a divorce, you know, they're downsizing to something smaller and it's really emotional. And when I go in and I make the changes that I made, to help them move forward in their life, for me, that's like the ultimate gift. I really feel that it's a service. It's helping the community. And that's kind of like one of my core values.
Perfect. No, that's awesome. I mean, this community, I've seen it for you. I've seen it for me. I've seen it for other people in you know, similar industries. And I think that the biggest thing that this community offers is the ability to rally behind people. I mean, truth be told, Shirley is everywhere. You know, it doesn't matter if you're at, you know, Women's Council of Realtors, or if you're at Sunshine Movers, helping them out. You know, the idea is that, you know, you have to be everywhere.
You do. And I think that the networking here offers us a lot of opportunities. It's how I met, you know, the realtor partners that I am working with. It's been through, you know, the Realtors Association or Women's Council. And I have made like friendships now through my networking. So it's a wonderful opportunity that we have there.
Absolutely. And it is a testament that networking does work, because guess what? You're one of my best friends in networking.
See?
It does work.
You
just got to go out. You got to network, you got to grind, essentially.
Absolutely.
But when you're working in people's spaces, what's the most emotional moment you've seen?
So I was helping an older couple downsize, and their actual space was okay, but their private spaces were needing some help. And the man's office, he's an older gentleman, and his office was it was actually, I thought, kind of dangerous. But we went through, and there were files and files and files of papers and papers. And we started going through them, and really, some of the things were from the 1980s,
wow.
And we had to get to the root of why he was holding on to these things that really were not important. And it was because it was a time in his life where he felt important and vital. And for me, that was sad. It's like, but there's so many other things here that show this well-lived life. Let's highlight those and let's get rid of some of the things that are keeping you down,
That's wonderful.
So,
I mean, to me, that's kind of like what happened with us. Like, we moved out of Massachusetts, and, in the moving process, we realized that my grandfather had actually taught in the same college that my brother went to school at.
Oh, wow.
So it's like,
yeah,
I can see why somebody would be very emotional. So kind of let those things go.
It is. It was emotional for me letting go of my kids' projects in school, and, but you can take a picture.
Yeah, very true.
And still have it.
Right. With that being said, what does like the word home mean to you? Like, does it have any more meaning because you're impacting people?
So, yeah. And for me, home is not a place of, perfection. Like, I know some people try to live that magazine life, and that's impossible. I think even social media is trending that way, is people are tired of seeing the perfect shot. They want to see real lives and real, your home is your sanctuary. It's a place where you go and you feel comfortable. It's a place where the things that I've collected over the years that I love, are there. And they surround me, and it makes me feel warm and cozy.
Absolutely.
And everyone's home should feel like that.
Absolutely. As a lot of people refer to their home as their safe place.
And one of the biggest things that for me was when I moved here, I moved from a much bigger house to a small condo, and my kids walked in and they're like, "Mom, you have made this place feel like home." And that was the biggest compliment to me. So
awesome. What's kind of going off the rails a little bit? What is something that people would be surprised to learn about you? Like, I feel like, we know so much, we've learned so much, of course, about the home and, where you came from in the fashion industry. Surprise us a little bit.
Okay. I think that one of the things that would surprise people, at this point is, I started running when I was in my 50s, and I did 15 half marathons.
Holy smokes.
I did 2 half marathons in 1 week, and I ran the New York City Marathon twice.
Really?
I also ran the inaugural Skyway Bridge run. It was a 10K, and I did that the first 2 years that they had it. Also, when I lived in New York City, I lived pretty much across the street from Chippendales.
Oh, boy.
So I knew all the Chippendale dancers. They would come to a club that I would be in all the time, which was a few blocks down from my apartment. So that was a lot of fun. They were all friends or whatever. But my daughter said, "Mom, you have to tell the best story." So, which is, before I ever moved to New York, I was still living in South Jersey, and we would go to a club in Trenton, and it was kind of a alternative club, and a lot of bands back then played there, and I was kind of the cocktail waitress for the bands, and Billy Idol was playing there, and because there's the new documentary about Billy Idol, and Billy Idol was there, and we kind of got in a little fight.
Uh-oh. So don't get into a fight with Shirley.
People were afraid of me back then. So funny.
Oh my goodness, man. I can imagine. Like, I don't know. I envy you because a lot of people know that I personally want to run the Boston Marathon. It's something that I've been holding inside of me for a while. I've actually came out publicly at Let's Connect. Not so much Discover Bradenton, but I did put a post out a couple weeks ago letting people know, like, hey, like, I'm working at the hospital to kind of better my life, better my situation with my leg. And I've talked about it, I think, before on the podcast. I've certainly talked to you about it. For those that don't know, I've got femoral nerve damage in my left leg due to a surgery mishap that happened when I was 16. And my goal actually for 2030 is to partake in the Boston Marathon. And
you know what? You've given yourself a good amount of time. And the thing that I can say is there's a lot of training guides out there. Like, really utilize those. They help me because I was an older runner when I started running. I never thought, I have never run a marathon, and that's extremely challenging. But for me, a half marathon was a huge accomplishment. And, but I did it slowly. And that, those days that you're tired or whatever, just do what you can do. Listen to your body. Yeah. Because you don't want to put the added pressure, but you'll get there. Yeah. I have no doubt that you'll get there. I appreciate you. Honestly, I really do. Switching back into kind of the home, the home talk and everything. Do you believe that a home can change somebody's life? And if so, how? So yes, I do. As I said before, like, a home should be your sanctuary, and wherever you choose to call home, some people are living van life, and for them that's home, that's their sanctuary. So it doesn't have to be something grand, it should be something that you enjoy, a place that brings you comfort. So yeah, I do redesign to help people when they're not feeling, like their home is quite them. I'll go in and help them using the things that they love and bringing them out so that we can arrange a room where it feels good to them. Awesome. Yeah, no, I feel like when I come home, there are days that are long, there are days that are tiring, but being able to know where my stuff is, being able to decompress in a certain room, it certainly helps. It does. It does. It's important. We all need a space where we can go home and de-stress from life. Right. Life is crazy right now. It is crazy. It's crazy for you. It's crazy for me. It's crazy for everybody. We're all nuts. Exactly. All right. Well, we're going to take another quick break. Okay. We'll be right back on Behind the Brand. Welcome back to Behind the Brand. I'm here with Shirley O'Brien of Suncoast Spaces. Shirley and I have gotten to know each other a little bit better now. We've talked a little bit about your fashion career, your time in New York City. We learned some interesting facts actually about Shirley that I didn't even know, and I've known Shirley for almost 2 years now. So definitely go back. Don't tell anybody though. I won't. They'll have to rewatch the episode for sure. But what are 3 things people should remove in their home if they wanted to sell possibly faster? Like, what are the 3 things you're looking at right now? Okay, so Matt, I can't give away all my secrets. Okay, fine. Because then people wouldn't need me. But a couple things that I can say is even artfully arranged items on top of kitchen cabinets give the appearance of clutter. Dried flowers make potential buyers think a home is very dusty. So you're saying to get fresh flowers? Yes, or just remove all the dried flowers. Okay. And what buyers really, really hate to see is a little bath mat in front of a toilet. I'll let you figure out why. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. It's one of those things where it's like I walk into my home and, one of the biggest things I feel like we're dealing with is, to your point, and we've talked about it a little bit earlier, is just having too much stuff. I feel like we're so caught up in, I need to have the latest and greatest thing, or I have to have this, or I have to have this. And it's like, I have to start asking myself that question.
Do I want it or do I need it?
Well, there's a lot of people that move boxes and never unpack them and move them to the next place and then move them to the next place, never even really unpacking them.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if I have anything like that. I might.
I think everybody has something like that.
I don't know. I mean, I got rid of a lot of stuff when I moved down here, and I feel like obviously my ex and I, when we broke up and I moved out, it wasn't the greatest breakup, but I think that, there were some things that I had brought down that I wanted to keep with me, like a bookshelf or, something that, I know I had a TV, for example. I had a sound bar that I was luckily enough to grab, because without it, it's like, I don't know if I could live without it.
Well, I think also one of the biggest takeaways is that not everything brings the same amount of joy, not every possession, and it's narrow into those things that really bring you the most joy,
Very true. With that being said, how do you want to be remembered? What do you want to be remembered for?
Well, other than creating beautiful spaces, I think I want to be remembered for being kind. My philosophy is that kindness builds better communities and inspires people. I really believe that kindness matters and that we should all be helping within our communities. I'm also a huge advocate for the environment, and anybody who knows me knows I'm a huge advocate for animals. And I believe that we all need to be stewards of this planet. It's our home. Yeah, we have to be a voice for the voiceless. And, I think it takes a kind person, compassion, to do that. So.
Well, I will definitely say that you are kind. You, like I said before, you are probably the nicest person that I've met through networking. Woo-hoo. And honestly, I'm forever thankful for our friendship.
Yes, me too. Me too.
Last question before we wrap things up today. When people hear the name Shirley O'Brien, what do you want them to think? What do you want them to say?
Well, other than thinking of me as being a kind, compassionate person, I hope that they would say, oh, Shirley O'Brien, she's the lived-in, occupied stager that you need to work with. Like, I want to be known for this. I chose to specialize in only this because I really believe in it, and I really believe it helps the community. I like trying to help guide sellers through the process in a compassionate way, and being able to be a resource for realtors so that they don't have to say the tough stuff. It's not always just about clearing the countertops. It's about creating a lifestyle vision. So I hope that people can see through my work that that's what I do in every project that I take on.
Shirley, thank you so much for joining me today on Behind the Brand.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. You've been a blessing. Like I said, every time I see you, you're full of life, full of energy, and definitely bring a smile to my face.
Yes, and I enjoy all your videos too, so I'm a big Matt fan.
There we go. Also, I do want to say thank you to Orange Blossom Cafe. They hosted us today. Melissa, Lily, and the team were amazing. So,
they're wonderful here.
Yes.
And their coffee's amazing.
And we're in downtown Bradenton, so don't forget.
The place to be.
Yes. We'll see you next time on Behind the Brand.